So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Hiduku back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, July 1st. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far here today, and hopefully everybody had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, July 1st here today. We have officially hit the month of July. June is now in the rear view, and we are now entered a new month, July 1st. Today, it is Bobby Bonilla Day, so happy Bobby Bonilla Day out there to all those Mets fans out there. Today until, 2035, until he's 72 years old, I believe, he will get a $1 million payday from the New York Mets, and obviously, it is a very weird thing. It's very odd. You have never seen it before, but it happens every day on July 1st, so it is Bobby Bonilla Day, and it is, in fact, July 1st here today. Coming off of a very terrible night in New York sports, although last night I guess you can kind of say was a relatively active night throughout sports. You had the Lightning Canadiens, you had the Suns, you had the Suns Clippers, you had, obviously all the baseball games and all that stuff. So for overall sports last night, it was a very active night. But in terms of, baseball, it was a big night in baseball, but a terrible night for the New York Yankees and the New York Mets, as obviously the New York Yankees blow the lead 8-4 in the ninth inning. They blow it. They allow 7 runs. They lose 11-8. And then the Mets lose 20-2. So last night was a pretty awful night in New York sports, to say the least. The Mets losing 20-2. That sounds more embarrassing, but I actually think the Yankees loss might be a little bit more embarrassing, just because. It might be a little bit more embarrassing just because the way the Yankees lost. They blew the lead in the ninth inning, and I'm going to get to that. So you had that. Then you had the Yankees game. The Mets lost 20-2, so that's another game you completely throw that game away. David Peterson again struggling. He just can't seem to find a groove. He can't seem to find a rhythm. He just can't seem to get anything going. He has a good start, then he has a couple bad starts, and he has a good start. He shows promise, then he has a couple bad starts. So he's been very inconsistent this year for the Mets. He's mainly not had a good year. He's showed some promising starts here and there, but for the most part, he's just struggled, and he's just not able to find a groove. He's not able to find that pitch. He's not able to find, one of those little. He's not able to find that that finish off pitch. He's not able to find, just that pitch that could just, really hurt batters when they're up there in the box, and they continues to struggle. And like I mentioned, Yankees blow the game. Chapman continues to struggle. He allows 4 runs in the ninth. Lucas Litke comes on, allows another 3. So the New York Yankees lose 11-8, and you allow 7 runs. And the Yankees game, don't get me wrong, I mean, that was a very weird game. That was a very odd game, considering it was the weird. You had the weird, rain delay. You had the first rain delay that only lasted about 45 minutes, and then the second rain delay lasted much longer. The game got resumed at 12, midnight Eastern time, and the game lasted up until 1-ish or so a.m. And I mean, it's a late game. There were still some fans there, and the Yankees decided to blow it. So a terrible loss by the Yankees, a terrible loss by the Mets. Both of them will try and bounce back today. Mets will play their third game of the 3-game set against Atlanta. That is the rubber match. The Yankees will play the 4th game of the 3-game set today. The 4-game set, rather. They could have went for the series win today. Would have been 3-1, but they didn't. So they lost last night. So today they're just going for the tie. They're just going to tie the series, salvage the final game of the set, and at least go into the Mets series starting tomorrow, knowing that you tied against the Angels. But this is one of these losses with the New York Yankees last night that it's going to be tough to bounce back. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the Yankees. You're going to see one of two things. You're going to find out a lot about this team tonight, or today, if the game even gets played. The weather looks terrible for the game. It's not expected to be played. It looks terrible. It's supposed to thunderstorm all during the game. So if the game even gets played, you're going to find out a lot about this Yankees team. If they come out and they come out flat and they look terrible, then that's bad. I mean, that's when you know, like, this team, not that they gave up, but, this team, that's when you know there's something really wrong. If they come out firing on all cylinders and really play well and they're scoring runs and they do well, like, then you're like, okay, this team responded. Like, they realized how bad of a loss it was last night. They responded and they won this game. So that's really the big factor with the New York Yankees today. And we'll see if they do respond. But Yankees, Mets both play today. Hawks, Bucks play tonight. And then Clippers, Suns series got finished yesterday. Suns winning 6. And the Suns move on. Clippers got eliminated. I'll probably talk more about the Clippers tomorrow. There's been so much sports going on. I still want to get to Lillard. I still want to get to Simmons. There's Stephon Gilmore news that's come out. Devontae Adams stuff. Then I wanted to get to the Clippers. So there's like 5, 6, 7 topics that I want to hit. So I will get to them. It's going to take a little bit of time. Just be patient. I'll get to them. Definitely try to talk about the Clippers sooner rather than later. I don't want to talk about them a couple weeks from now when the season's pretty much already done. I want to talk about it when it's really a fresh new topic. So as for today's topics, let's get into them here today. 2 baseball topics today. Want to get into the Yankees blowing the game and that disgraceful of a 9th inning. I mean, it's just terrible. I want to say this in advance. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm repeating myself every time. Like I mentioned, I'm going to sound like a broken record, especially during this Yankee segment. If I keep saying the word terrible, or I keep saying the word awful, or I keep saying the word this just not good, or if I just keep saying the same thing over and over again, I apologize. It's really how it is. There's not much else I can express. There's not much else I could say about this team. I would say I have kind of said everything I've wanted to say, and the Yankees continue to come out and continue to lose. Yesterday we did not play bad, for the first 8 innings. We were winning 8-4. The bats, this second straight game, the Yankees bats come alive, and we knocked Shohei Ohtani 2/3. He only pitched 2/3 of an inning. We knocked him out after the first inning. He only got 2 outs against us. We put up a 7 spot in the first inning, and other than that, we only scored 1 run the rest of the game. And I mean, it's just frustrating because you score 7 runs in the first inning. You got to feel pretty gosh darn confident, and you blow a game like that. It's terrible. But the Yankees got to find a way to bounce back. So I'll get into yesterday's game. Then I want to get into the Nationals' recent success. Okay, I know you might say, why are you talking about the Nationals and not the Clippers or something like that? I'm talking about the Nationals today because the Nationals right now are a very hot baseball team. They have a team with Kyle Schwarber on it. They have a team with Trey Turner, who hit for the cycle yesterday. A team with Kyle Schwarber, who has hit, he had something like 15 home runs in his last 17 games, although I'm sure he's upped that total since. Kyle Schwarber has been dominating recently, and Trey Turner hit for the cycle yesterday. And the Washington Nationals right now are extremely on fire right now. They're on a 4-game win streak. They just got done beating the Rays, a very good Rays team, and they're on fire right now. They are on fire right now. They beat the Rays yesterday. I believe they beat them like 15 to something. They're dominating right now, and everyone's coming together. All the pieces are coming together. I wanted to talk about it because the Nationals had this success a couple years ago, and it turned out in a World Series win. Not saying they're going to win the World Series, but I find it interesting that this is a team that started off really slow, and now all of a sudden they're starting to pick it up. I'll talk about if they can keep it up, talk about what's going right for them, and get into all that stuff. I also want to get into some Max Scherzer stuff because this makes Max Scherzer now all of a sudden not really be a big name at the deadline if the Nationals continue to win. So then I'm going to get into the New York sports update. As always, finish it off. Yankees, Mets both play today. Yankees play the final game of the 4-game set against the Angels, and Mets play the final game of a 3-game set against the Braves. And obviously, the Yankees and the Mets will meet tomorrow. So, to be honest, the Yankees and the Mets are coming off of really embarrassing series. Even if the Yankees win today, it's embarrassing the loss yesterday. And the Mets are coming off a very embarrassing loss yesterday as well. 20-2, and the Yankees lost 11-8. So, that series will be interesting. Definitely some, high, it's definitely a lot of adrenaline in that series, a lot of, energy, given that both these teams right now are not playing their best baseball. So that Mets-Yankees series starting tomorrow should be very exciting. And, and like I've always said this, anytime the Yankees and the Mets meet, it's always exciting. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So last night, if you're going to want to be that fan, That fan that just gives you that simple few-word answer, well, that happened, or well, that was terrible, or wow, or how did that happen, or any of those words. If you did, in fact, if you were a fan last night that did not finish watching the rest of the game and did not stay up, to watch the rest of the game last night, then you obviously realize that it was not a good win, it takes a quick Google search to find out that the Yankees blew last night's game, and to say the least, the New York Yankees were terrible last night. They were terrible last night in the ninth inning, and they blew the game. But to kind of just give you a little bit of a recap of the game. The New York Yankees last night, it started off really, really well for them. And, it started off really well for them. You start off the game, right? Ohtani's on the mound, so automatically you're like, and by the way, why was Judge and Gio out of the lineup when Ohtani was on the mound? That's besides me. I don't know why. Either way, they still got the loss. But Judge and Gio being out of the lineup, you look at that lineup going up against Ohtani, you're like, wow, we're going to get smoked tonight. And the Yankees put up a 7 spot in the first inning. Not 1 run, not 2 runs, not 3 runs, not 4 runs. They put up a 7 spot in the first inning. And they hired Ohtani's ERA from 2.58 to 3.60. So they hired Ohtani's earned run average about a whole run up. Actually, 1.2 up because it was 2.58. Now it's 3.60. So the Yankees were jumping on Ohtani early. And to be honest, maybe I shouldn't use that word because Ohtani had a lot of walks. He had, 3-4 walks in that first inning. He walked the bases loaded, and then Stan got up and hit that single, and then, LeMahieu then LeMahieu had a hit, and then I believe Andujar, did Andujar have a hit? No, yeah, Andujar, that little ground ball that was such a slow dribbler. Anthony Rendon threw it at first, and the run scored. And you had all these hits everywhere. You had all these big at-bats. You had all this plate discipline and stuff like that. And the Yankees were stringing together good at-bats. And what was making me so excited was the fact that we had bases loaded, no outs, and we scored more than 1 run. It's not like it's not like it was a sack. It's not like it was a sack fly and an RBI, and that was it for the New York Yankees. Next play, we ground into a double play. We had bases loaded, no outs. We cleared the bases. We batted through the order. LeMahieu had that double that, really turned things up, and we scored 7 runs in the first inning and knocked Ohtani out of the game. And that is, to me, right then and there, is like, not that I got too confident, because let me tell you, Herman did not pitch very well either. But the fact that we were winning 7-2, it's like, all right, things are starting to go well. Like, okay, this looks like it's going to be a successful game. And then innings go by, and it's 7-3, and blah, 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 and innings go by, and stuff like that, and it's 7-3, and blah, 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 so on and so forth. The Angels add on another in the 5th inning, which was obviously the solo shot by Jared Walsh, which was after that top half of the inning. They ended up putting the rain delay back on. So the rain delay happened in like the 3rd or 4th inning, and then the Yankees, and then they came back out. They got another rain delay. The game was just such an awkward game. Because you have a rain delay, it lasted only about 45 minutes, and you have you come out, you play, it starts pouring again, and then you have another rain delay, and that lasts about, that lasts much longer. I think the 2 rain delays combined are like 2 hours and 10 minutes. So the other rain delay lasted about an hour and a half or so, and then you have the other rain delay, and that other rain delay was... obviously in the 5th inning, Yankees come out, Yankees don't score a run, blah, blah, blah. Yankees then score another run in the bottom of the 8th. You add on, it's 8-3. You're going into the 9th inning. You're feeling like, wow, like we're winning 8-3 in the 9th inning. And you got to feel, you're feeling really confident about how things are going. Or 8-4 rather in the 9th inning. And you got to feel really confident about how things are going. And then all of a sudden, the Angels just decide to go out and just dominate. And they put up a 7 spot in the 9th inning. So I guess if you really want to get technical, the first and the last inning, there was 14 combined runs scored. 14 out of the 19 runs that were scored last night happened in the bottom of the first and the top of the 9th. With 7 runs, and that's how the game went. I mean, the Yankees started strong, and the Angels finished strong. And I guess at the end of the day, it's whatever team gets the last punch. It's whatever team gets the knockout punch. Yeah, you might start off with the big punch, but it's if you don't finish off with the knockout punch, then you're not going to win. And the Angels had the knockout punch last night, and they improved their record to 39-41. And I mean, how does the Yankees blow that game is just besides me. I mean, even if it's just, it's 8-4. You're going into the ninth inning. Chapman's getting on the mound, which I understand Chapman's struggling recently, but you also got to look at this if you're the New York Yankees. You're like, Chapman's on the mound, right? And not that you don't feel confident with him on the mound, but it's like he's on the mound. It's 8-4, right? And he's been struggling recently. It's going to happen. He's just been struggling. I don't know what it is with him. He's been struggling. So you got to think, okay, he's out there with an 8-4 lead. This is a 4-run lead. It's 8-4 game. As a Yankee fan, you got to feel like, okay, this is an opportunity to boost his confidence. This is an opportunity to give him a little bit of a confidence boost. He struggled recently. An opportunity to go out, work a 1-2-3 inning, and move on, right? It's the top of the ninth. It's you just got done with another rain delay. You're just all that stuff going on. You're like, you know what? Let's put him out there. Let's just see, how he does. Even if he lets up 2 runs, we still got the win. It still doesn't matter. But then Chapman gets into his jam, and Jared Walsh hits the grand slam. And it's the first grand slam Chapman ever let up in his career, which I thought was kind of surprising. With all the home runs he's letting up in the playoff games and all the clutch home runs he's let up, I'm surprised none of them has been a grand slam. But that's the first time in his career he's let up a grand slam. And Jared Walsh added on. That was 4 runs. Litke came in, and he had allowed 3 runs, although it wasn't all Litke's fault because, it wasn't any of the Litke's fault, to be honest. Chapman's the one who blew the game. If Chapman goes in there and gets the job done, we're not talking about Lucas Litke coming in and having to allow 3 runs either. It's just wild that, you blow a game like that. It's 8-4. Right, I get it. You had all the weird rain delays, and I get it. It's a lot of stopping and starting and then stopping again and then going again. It's all weird. You got to, stretch again. You got to come out and get ready, blah, blah, blah. I understand that. That shouldn't be an excuse, though. I get that, it's all, I get that it's all, the rain delay, no rain delay, no rain delay. I understand all that. But at the end of the day, you got to go out there and you got to be way better than letting up 4 runs in the ninth inning. And it's really bad when the talk of the town right now is the Yankees blowing 11-8, Yankees blowing a lead in the ninth and letting up 7 runs in the ninth. And the talk of the town, talk of the major leagues right now is not the fact that the Mets lost 20-2 against the Atlanta Braves. That's not it. That's crazy. And I know it might sound like I'm not very mad about this. I'm very angry about this. I'm just to the point now where I don't know really what I'm supposed to say. It's the same thing every game. We come out, we're bad, we're terrible, and we're not good. And all these fans out there chanting "Fire Boone" and stuff like that. Let me teach you something. Can Aaron Boone control how Chapman pitches? No. Can Aaron Boone control that Chapman doesn't have his best stuff? No. Right? Aaron Boone, right, at the end of the day, I always judge firing coaches off of, sometimes, how the team is playing. Because if they lost the locker room or stuff like that. I also judge coaches, especially in the major leagues, about their decision making. And was that a bad move to put Chapman in the ninth? You look at it to start off, it's really not that bad of a move. To be honest, the Yankees could have put on one of their low-end relievers. They could have put in a guy, I don't know who's one of their. Licky's actually gotten a pretty decent role, but you could have put in anyone else. You could have put in a lower-end reliever in the game and, got the job done. If Sessa didn't pitch early in the game, you could have saved and put Sessa in the ninth. It's a 4-run lead. You could have put in anyone. He decided to put Chapman out there. At the time, it wasn't really that bad of a move. He can't control that Chapman lets up the grand slam. Now, you could always say, oh, what if you take Chapman out against Walsh and bring in Litke? Well, it's still... not saying that it would have been a different result, but, it's still bases loaded, 1 out. So you got to hope that Walsh grounds into a double play, and it's not like a bases clearing double or, a big-time single that, scores 2 runs, whatever the case may be. Boone can't do anything about that. He could take Chapman out. He doesn't have to put Chapman in, but that's the classic fan response. Oh, why did you put in Chapman? It's a 4-run lead. The guy has struggled. Try to boost his confidence a little back up, but Chapman's been terrible recently. And I like Chapman. I've always thought he's been a very good player, but he's been terrible. And like I said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's been terrible recently. He's going to be awful. And I warned you at the beginning of this podcast, I'm going to use the word terrible and awful a lot, so sorry if I sound repetitive, but he has been. I mean, Chapman has bad, as I believe in the month of June or his last something reliefs appearances, he's had like an ERA above 6. And in the beginning of the year, his first 11, 15 relief appearances or something like that, he didn't allow a run. I mean, the guy looked like the best closer in baseball, and now all of a sudden you're worried when he takes the mound. And something's up with him. And, all those people might want to say, oh, well, he was using a substance or something like that. I don't really know what it is. All I know is he's not playing good. And he's not pitching good. And to go out with an 8-4 lead, you go out and have an opportunity to boost your confidence, and you let up 4 runs on a grand slam to Jared Walsh, who, by the way, has had an amazing under-the-radar season, should be an all-star. I mean, it's just terrible. And, I know there was fire Boone chance there in the 9th inning, but, let me ask you this. All the Yankee fans out there that want Buck Showalter to come back, Buck Showalter being in the dugout, would that have made any difference? Would that have made any difference? Would Chapman have looked at Buck Showalter and say, you know what, I got my best stuff today? Would that have made a difference? No. Last night's game was on the players. I mean, Boone put in Chapman in the 9th inning with a 4-run lead. If Boone put in someone else and they smoked him, it would have been a bad decision. It made sense to put Chapman in with a 4-run lead. Number one, your bullpen was worn down already. You used Wilson, Sessa, O'Day, Loaizaga. So you already used 4 guys from your bullpen. So, plus the bullpen that was already used yesterday. So you got to be thinking like, okay, all right, like, you didn't have many options. Your options were slim. So you bring in Chapman. And is that a bad move in the top of the 9th? Not really. It's a 4-run lead. But it didn't work out. It was terrible. So, it's just terrible how you blow a lead like that. You can't do that. If you want to be a playoff team, if you want to win games, if you want to go out there and compete for a championship, you can't be blowing 4-run leads in the 9th. And it's like I said, I was talking to someone earlier about this before I went on. It's not the fact that they blew the lead, or it's not even the fact that, they just blew the lead. It's the fact that they let up 7 runs. I mean, 7 runs in the bottom of the 9th, which gave the Yankees absolutely no chance when they got up at bat because it was a 3-run game. In the bottom of the 9th to let up 7 runs. It's not even just the fact that Chapman went out there and was terrible and Litke allowed another 3. It's the fact that it was 7 runs. Like, you look at that box score and you look at it all the way. It's like, 8-4 going into the 9th. And the Yankees let up a 7 spot. A 7 spot. And oh, by the way, I mean, the Yankees also, it was to the point where, I mean, it's just, oh, God, it was awful. And, and it's bad when the other New York baseball team allowed 20 runs and they lost 20-2, and they're not even the talk of the town right now. Now, that's also because the Yankees are the bigger name team, but it's also it's because the Yankees blew a lead like that. And I mean, you can't do much about it. Yankees just got to be better. I mean, you got to be way better than this garbage. And we're a hot garbage team right now. And like I said last night, that wasn't on. I was still on Cashman fired. That wasn't on any of the coaches, none of the GMs, none of the front office. That wasn't on any of the staff. That was on the players last night. That's on Chapman. Right? That's on, obviously, he was not prepared. He was not ready. He did not have his best stuff. That's on him. The coaching staff, they can't control when he's got his best stuff and when he's not. Chapman was off. He was terrible. Simple as that. Last night was on the players. It's almost like they lost that fight in the final innings. The Angels at 1 a.m, they could have very well said, hey, you know what, just end it. They could have very well went out there and went down without a fight. The Yankees last night went into the 9th inning with the mindset of, oh, we've got this game in our hands. And they looked lazy, and Chapman looked bad, and the New York Yankees yet again fall. And I understand that today they could still go for the series tie. But the fact that you lose like that, this is a loss that's gonna linger for a little bit. And yeah, you could always use that motto of, to be honest, it happened last month. If that makes you feel any better. It's not like it's technically, it happened yesterday, but it's not even this month it happened. So, the Yankees I'll tell you what, this month's pivotal for the Yankees. Yankees have to have a huge month of July. You don't have a big month of July, I'm sorry, you're in trouble. If you do, then good for you. You might have a chance. But terrible loss by the New York Yankees. And let me read you what happened for the New York Yankees last night in the top of the ninth to break it down. Ward walked, then Lagares grounded into a fielder's choice at first, Ward out at second. Then Stassi walked Lagares to second, so you had first and second. One out, which is a golden opportunity for a double play. And then Rendon walked Stassi to third, Lagares to second, or Stassi to second, Lagares to third. And Walsh homered to right center field, 401 feet. Lagares scored, Stassi scored, and Rendon scored. So that was the grand slam to tie it. And, the walks hurt the Yankees. And, it wasn't like it was any big hits, right? Fielder's choice, a walk, and a walk in the first at bat. So it wasn't even like it was any big contact. Chapman just can't find the zone. And is that a release issue? Is that what is it? I mean, he's been terrible. And it's frustrating that he can't go in there and hold a 4-run lead. It's terrible. Then Litke pitched. Gosselin walked. Fletcher singled to center. Gosselin scored. Iglesias struck out swinging. Then Rigenfo came in and hit for Myers. Fletcher stole second. Rigenfo singled to third. Singled to left. Gosselin scored and Fletcher scored. Ward doubled to left. Rigenfo scored. Lagares struck out swinging. So they batted through the order. 7 runs, 4 hits, no errors. And the Yankees came up in the ninth inning, and they really had a lot of fight in them. Stanton grounded out to shortstop. Torres grounded out to third, and Odor struck out swinging. So they went down in order, 1, 2, 3, and they had no runs, no hits, and the Angels had no errors in the bottom of the ninth inning. So that's how the final inning panned out for you. So that big old saying in baseball, one swing of the bat can change a game. That was how it was yesterday. One swing of the bat changed the game. Jared Walsh, he grounds a double play. We're talking about Chapman escapes trouble today. We're talking about how bad the Mets were. I'm telling you, I would have came on and talked about the Mets today, but the fact that the Yankees blew a game like that, it's terrible. And that's a game where, like I said, you're going to find a lot about this team today. Now, if the game gets played today, because the weather looks terrible and I can look at it again. If they play today, we're going to find a lot about this team today. And I'll tell you why here. Because the Yankees could do one of two things today. They could go out there and they could come out flat, be terrible. It's a game that lasted to 1, so by the time you do interviews, shower, leave the stadium, get home, eat, whatever they did, they probably didn't go to bed 4 or 5 in the morning. Maybe that's pushing a little bit. 3, 4 in the morning, so they didn't get much sleep because they probably got to be back at the field at 10, 11. 10, definitely. So they probably only got a couple hours of sleep. So they could use the excuse. They could come out flat. They could come out terrible. And they could come out completely awful today and get smoked. And this could be one of these games that it's like a 9-2, 9-3 victory by the Angels. Or the Yankees could come out today. Monty's on the mound. And they could come out and they could be really angry about last night's loss and come out, put up like a 6 spot in the first inning like they did last night. 7 spot actually, but put up like a 7 spot. 7 spots hard. Let's be more realistic and say a 2-3 run first inning and just keep adding on from there and have a big game. Or they could come out, have an ant game and win. We're going to find a lot about this Yankees team because I'm telling you what, if the Yankees come out today and they come out flat, like I said, if they even play, I would put my money that it's going to get canceled. But if the game gets played and the Yankees come out flat, and they lose, I don't know, even if they just lose. But if they lose and it's a close game, it's a loss, it's not good. But it's one thing if they lose a close game and they get smoked. If they come out and get smoked today like 6-1, let's just say, that's realistic, 6-1. And that's when you got to make a change. You've got to make a front office change. That today, if they come out and they lose like that, you got to make a change. You have to. There's no other way of saying it. There's no other way to round it. Although one thing I do wonder is today if the Yankees do play, or don't play rather, what are they going to do with Cole? Because Cole was supposed to pitch tomorrow. Are you going to bump him back a day and have Monty pitch tomorrow? Or are you going to, because Monty's technically supposed to start today. So if the game gets postponed, you got to wait for Monty to pitch again. It's tough because pitchers get in a routine, right? They do a certain thing every 5 days. Every day leading up to their start. So their first day is a lot of recovery, band work, stretching. Their second day might be light throwing. Third day is a bullpen. Fourth day might be long toss and stuff. Then their fifth day is the day they start. So they get in a routine. So technically Monty, he's scheduled to start today. Now, if he doesn't pitch today, or the Yankees going to move him back and pitch tomorrow, which would actually be very good because that would set up on Saturday That would set up on Saturday, that would set up a Saturday game with Cole versus Stroman. But as it stands right now, the probables over the weekend for the Mets and Yankees are Cole tomorrow against Walker, Stroman versus King on Saturday, and then on Sunday it's Tyone and McGill. So there's a chance today if the Yankees play, Montgomery pitches, but if he doesn't play today, does Montgomery pitch tomorrow and everything just get pushed back? Because then you also got to realize the Yankees have an off day on that Monday, and then they head out to Seattle for 3 games there. They headed out into a little bit of a trip, a 6-game road trip, 3 in Seattle and 3 in Houston. And then you come back home, 4 against the Red Sox and blah, 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 so on and so forth. So it'd be interesting because if Monty doesn't pitch today, does he pitch the first game of that Seattle series then? But then that messes everything up because then, I guess that could be real because then, no, that messes everything up because then when Herman and Cole's going to pitch. One rainout could really mess up everything. I think what's going to happen is you're going to push everything back. Because then you also have that day off on Monday. That's kind of like might be your reset day. So I'll probably say this. If they don't play today, Monty will probably pitch tomorrow. Cole will pitch Saturday. And King will pitch Sunday. And then Monday will be a day off. And then like a fresh start on Tuesday. Tyone, Herman, Monty, Cole, so on and so forth for the rest of the month and rest of the season. That's how I see it. But it's something I wanted to bring up because it is interesting. What do the Yankees do with the pitching? Do you completely skip Monty and let him pitch Sunday or let him pitch Saturday and have Cole pitch tomorrow? I mean, do you want to, maybe get your ace out of line a little bit with his routine? I mean, we'll see. But to sum it all up, the Yankees' loss last night is simply unacceptable. It can't happen again. And if it does, I'm telling you, changes are going to have to be made. Not much fight in this team, not much fight on this roster. Talent just not showing itself. And I got to admit, as much as Yankee fans don't like Stan, you've got to watch his interviews because he completely says it. He completely puts it out there. He's not a glass half full kind of guy when it comes to losing. He's not a guy that, and that's one thing I got to, you got to feel for Stan too. I mean, not really feel for him, but you got to understand, Stan with his frustration. For example, you got to see where he's come from. He was on the Marlins for all those years, that losing team. He comes to the Yankees. He comes to the Yankees. He wants to win a World Series, and we're not even close to doing that. And we are not really getting close, and who knows if we even are going to make the playoffs this year. As the updated wild card standings right now, we're 5.5 back. 5.5 back total, 5 in the loss column, 6 in the win column. So, I mean, it's bad. And if we lose today, we're 1 game above 500. It might be better off if the game today just gets rained out, because that means that the Yankees can just completely just forget about it and just start fresh tomorrow. But not much you can do about that loss last night other than just sit there and watch the team slowly explode. Like I said, no other way to put it. It was terrible. It was awful. It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to the Yankees. It's embarrassing to the players. Like, you can't hold on to an 8-4 lead in the 9th inning in a game that featured 2 rain delays at 1 in the morning. Like, you can't, really. And props to the Angels. I mean, the Angels, they showed fight. They could have very well just said, hey, or not, they wouldn't have said that, but they could have very well went out in that 9th inning and went 1-2-3. And it's good, too, that in the bottom of the ninth, the Yankees showed some fight going down 1-2-3. It's good, too. It's a 3-run game. That's not completely crazy. You get a runner on base, boom, just like that. You hit a home run. That's a perfect scenario. You get 2 runners on base, just like that. Tying run comes to the plate. It's not that hard to come back from a 3-run lead, but for this New York Yankees team, it's impossible, and it doesn't happen often. So Yankees fall 8.5 back now from the division lead. And the Red Sox now really have a big-time lead. They're on a 6-game winning streak, 7-3 in their last 10. And the Rays right now have fallen 3 games back. So right now, the Red Sox are in command of that division. 50-31 right now, 81 games through the season, so halfway point. 6-game win streak, 7-3 their last 10. The Rays are on a 3-game losing streak, 4-6 in the last 10. Blue Jays are hot. They're 8-2 in their last 10, but they lost yesterday. And then the Yankees, they lost their last game. And then the Yankees are on a losing streak of 1 game, and obviously they're 4-6 in their last 10. Oh, that losing streak of 1 game seems like it's been spanning across the entire month of June. Seems like it should be a whole lot. I mean, to be honest, with the way the Yankees have played and the way we fought and the way we battle, our record should be a whole lot worse than 41-39. So, another disgraceful performance by the New York Yankees as they lose and choke in terrible fashion. They lose 11-8. All right, so coming up next here, a little bit more of a positive segment, I should say, for the National fans out there, and for me, obviously, I think this is pretty crazy, but the Nationals right now are hot. The Nationals right now are rolling. They're playing very good baseball, and it seems like a very similar thing that happened a couple years ago. I'll get into that coming up next. Alrighty, so to say the least here, the Nationals have been hot. They've been rolling. I mean, just have been dominating. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game win streak, and they've upped their record. A couple days ago, they were below 500. They are now 40-38, and only 2 games behind the 41-35 New York Mets. And the Washington Nationals just got off of a fresh 2-game sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays. They won on Tuesday 4-3. They won yesterday 15-6. And right now they are on a 4-game win streak. They beat the Marlins 5-1 on Sunday, Mets 8-4 on Monday, Rays 4-3 on Tuesday, and like I just mentioned, 15-6 yesterday on Wednesday. And the Nationals right now are playing the best baseball we have seen them play recently, and the best baseball we've seen them play all year. And frankly, with the best baseball we've seen them play really across all of last year, they were not playing very good baseball. And so far in the first couple months of this season, they have not been playing good baseball. But the fact that they're 40-38 in a division with the Braves at 38-41, the Phillies at 37-41, and the Marlins all the way at the bottom at 34-45, we finally, in the NL East, have the second team that's above 500. And I've said this for the longest time now, right? And I'll pull out my power ranking sheet here. I had the Nationals as a top 10 team this year. And you could call me crazy, you could call me wild, you could say whatever you want, you could say whatever you want, I don't mind. But the Washington Nationals this season, I said it. I think they were going to be a good team. The Nationals, they have the talent. They have the roster. They continue to add on to a roster full of a lot of talent. They've gotten some real surprising good performances out of a couple players. Guys like Kyle Schwarber, guys like Josh Harrison. Trey Turner has been dominant this season, batting .318. He leads the team in batting average. By the way, he's played all 78 of the games. Schwarber has been dominant recently, leads the team in RBIs and home runs. You have the young stud in Juan Soto, who leads the team in on-base percentage. I mean, this is a team that has so much talent. And I said it at the beginning of the year, and I know a lot of people were like, oh, the Nationals had a terrible year last year. That was a one-year wonder, that World Series team and stuff like that. And I still put them in my top 10 because I do really believe that when healthy, when playing good baseball, they are the best team, arguably, in that NL East division. They are. And you look at the roster, you look at when they come together and they play hard. I mean, they've beat some really good teams. I mean, they beat the Mets, who have struggled a little bit this year with injuries, and they've been had a very odd year. But fact is, they beat the Mets 8-4, and that's a division opponent. That's an NL East opponent. That's a team that's in the lead for the NL East, in the division lead, their first place. So that's another thing that, hey, we beat the first place team. No matter how good or bad the Mets are, no matter how many injuries they have, they even beat the Mets. And then they beat the Rays, who are a very good team as well, 3 games back of the AL East lead. And like I said, I think this team has got a ton of talent. And you might think I'm crazy for saying this, but this is a team that's got some of the better talent out of a lot of rosters out there. Now, are they like a Dodgers? Are they a Padres? Team is a team like the Braves with that lineup they throw out there? No. To look at some other lineups, the Astros have been good, or San Francisco has been good. White Sox, teams, A's, Angels throw a good lineup out there, even though they're struggling a little bit this season. They throw a good lineup out there. It's their pitching. I've said this all along. To be honest, as an MLB fan, there's not much surprise that comes by this with the Nationals. But one thing I find interesting about this all is the Nationals, right? There's always those teams, right? You have a first half team and there's a second half team, right? You're really good in the first half, really bad in the second half, or you're in both, or some teams just struggle in the first half of the season. They get to the 70, 80, 90 game mark, and all of a sudden they look like a brand new team. And that's how the Washington Nationals are. And we saw that back in 2019 when they won the World Series. They were a team that was struggling, not playing good. They were one of the worst teams in the league. They had a terrible record. They started the season off like 17 and like 36 or something. They were awful. They were like 20, 25 games below 500. And they turned things around. They got to the 50, 60 game mark of the season, and they turned things around. And they started to win games, started to win, made the wild card, divisional, championship series, and obviously ended up beating the Houston Cheaters in the World Series there. And obviously that was really just a big moment for baseball, big moment for the entire sports world. The fact that a team that started off so bad ended up making the World Series. And I feel like, again, not that they're going to win the World Series, but again, this team is showing us there's reason to believe in the Washington Nationals. And yes, they might get, forgotten about in the sports world. Not many MLB fans are really thinking about the Washington Nationals or really talking about them. I get that, right? I'm a big New York sports guy. I talk about New York sports. I don't really talk much about the Nationals and stuff. But this just catches my eye that once again, this team is going out and they are winning games, and they're winning it near the All-Star break, winning it near to start the second half of the season. And there's a lot of those teams, too. There's always that excuse of, you start off really strong, and then you hit the All-Star break, and that's like a thing that really stinks. For the Nationals, I feel like the All-Star break is like the start of their season. Like the first 2 to 3 months of their seasons is warm-up. It's not very good. It's all right baseball. And then to get to the next couple months of the season, you get to July, you get to August, then you get into September, and the Nationals are playing really good baseball. And that, again, seems like what's happening. And that's why I put them 10th in my power rankings. Because, yes, are they going to be the most overpowering team in the league? No, they won't. Are they going to be the best team in the league? No. But do they have the talent? Do they have the roster? Do they have the pitching to do it? Yes, they do. You got Max Scherzer, who has been very good this season. Now, the pitching has not been amazing outside of Scherzer, but still, you have Max Scherzer that's out there. You got Max Scherzer that's out there. You got, when healthy, Strasburg, but he just can't seem to stay in the field. But the hitting this season has been amazing. Trey Turner batting .318. Kyle Schwarber has been hot recently, 25 home runs, 53 RBIs from Kyle Schwarber, and on base percentage, OBS leader, OBP, which is on base percentage, of 400 for Juan Soto, and 100 hits by Trey Turner this season. And you look at the big guys, right? You look at the big guns, right? Even Starlin Castro, he's batting 253, Schwarber 249, Soto 280, Josh Harrison, they've gotten some really good production out of him at 277. Josh Bell struggled early on. He's been better recently. He was batting like 190. He's now batting 232, so he's gotten it up a couple ticks. Yan Gomes batting 261, Zimmerman 264. You just keep going down here, and you get a lot of good production from a lot of these guys. And once again, Trey Turner, Schwarber, Soto, Harrison, Castro are leading the way. And this is a team that, for the most part, has been able to stay relatively healthy. I mean, 78 games played, 76 games played, 70 games played, 68 games played, 66 games played. And they've played 78 games this season. So this is a team that has avoided a lot of IL stints. They started off the year very weird, and they've now bounced back. And the MLB and the NL East and Mets fans and fans out there like that, you should watch out for the Washington Nationals. Because once again, this is a common theme every year with this team, where they start off really slow and they finish really strong. And they've got the talent to make another playoff run. I said that at the beginning of the season when I put them in my power rankings. I'm going to say it again. They've got the talent to make another playoff run. Now, do I mean win a World Series? No, I mean playoff run. I mean make the playoffs. I mean be competitive. They've got the talent. Trey Turner batting 318. That's got to be up there as one of the better batting averages in the league. I know Segura's, I think, got 325. Although he's been on the IL like twice this season. But I mean, it is. I mean, it's a common theme. And once again, we're getting around the All-Star break, getting into July, getting into August and the dog days of summer, and the Nationals just seem to thrive this time of the year. And they've got the talent. Soto, Turner, Schwarber, if he continues to do anywhere close to what he's doing. Washington Nationals are now 40-38, 2 games back of the Mets, and 4-game winning streak, 8-2 in their last 10. And their schedule is really difficult coming up. No doubt about that. There's no doubt about that their schedule is really difficult coming up. But if there's a team that would be able to take down these teams, it would be a team like the Washington Nationals, a team that just seems to just, everything they see in sight, they just can't seem to just dominate. Alrighty, so I just wanted to read you this really quickly, their record in their last 17 games. So obviously Trey Turner hit for the third cycle of his career. That was yesterday. And Brewers, another team who are really, really on fire. And the Nationals, Trey Turner obviously hit what's the cycle. That's his third cycle in his career. This is the stat I wanted to read. So it's just the 5th player in MLB history to have 3 career cycles. The others, John Riley, Bob Musell, Babe Herman, and Adrian Beltre. So his 3rd cycle of his career, and he had on his birthday as well. So a cycle on his birthday, and the Washington Nationals, watch out, because this same thing happens every year. And is it a lie? No, it's not, because when they do this, they make the playoffs. It happens every year. They tend to struggle. They start playing well again. Struggle, play well again. This season, struggle, bottom of the division, start to play well, boom, just like that, they're 2 games out. And there's no doubt about it, make no mistake, that their schedule is really brutal coming up. You have 4 against the Nationals, you're at home. Then you head on the road for 4 against the Padres, so that's 8 against the NL West, which is a very good division. Possibly 3 teams could come out of that division. Padres, Giants, and Dodgers. Then you have 3 against the Giants and 3 against the Padres. So they play 3 of the 5 NL West teams in this month. They play the Dodgers 4 games, then 4 against the Padres. Then they play the Giants and 3 more against the Padres. Then they play 3 against the Marlins, 3 against the Orioles, 4 against the Phillies, and then 3 against the Cubs. That will go into the month of August. So I look at this if you're Nationals, right? You have the All-Star break starts, what, the 11th? So the 11th, you're going to have games up until then. So until then, you got 4 against the Dodgers, 4 against the Padres. You have 3 against the Giants. Right? So right now, if you're the Nationals, you look at this and you go ahead and say, okay, right, this is a really hard, this is going to be a very difficult, 11-game stretch. It is. It's going to be difficult. But if you can at least get somewhere between 4 to 5, 6 wins in this 11-game stretch, you got to feel confident. Even if that means going 5-6 or 6-5 or 7-4, it doesn't have to be 10-1 in your next 11 games. But if you could find a way to squeak out at least 2 wins in these next couple series and hover around that 500 mark, because this is going to be tough. You're playing 11 games straight here, and you're going to have 4 against LA, 4 against San Diego, and 3 against San Francisco. And those are all really tough teams to beat. So it's a big test for the Nationals. A very big test. And we'll find out a lot about them now. Right? They've been playing very well. But then you get into after that, you get to 3 against the Padres, and you come after the All-Star break, and then you get some games that you really got to win. 3 against the Marlins, 3 against the Orioles, then you have 4 against the Phillies, 3 against the Cubs. And then you go play the Phillies and so on and so forth into August. So right now, if you're a Nationals fan, I'd feel pretty confident. Even though you have a very tough schedule coming up, when you come out of the All-Star break, if you're still hovering over that 3-4 games above 500, you get, after the Padres, you get 6 games against the Marlins. You get 3 against the Marlins, 3 against the Orioles. And those are, you got to go at least 5-1, 6-0 in those games. Those have got to be games that you got to win. But right now, Nationals are hot. They're rolling. They're cruising. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and the Mets got to watch out because the Mets are definitely not playing their good baseball recently. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Got smoked last night, obviously. And right now, the Nationals, if they continue to hit like they are, and Scherzer, is the main guy that's been pitching well for them this season, if he continues to pitch well, this team could lead themselves to the playoffs once again. And we're hovering near the All-Star break, which is where this team just gets really good. They just get real good. So that's what I got for the Nationals. Obviously, they play today. Patrick Corbin's on the mound, so that's not great. He's struggled this season, but hey, I know it's gonna be tough. I'm not not even. They've got a couple tough games coming up. Dodgers, Padres, Giants to finish out the first half of the season's tough. But if you want to be positive, you can look at the second half. You get 3 against the Padres to start off, which is tough. But then you get into the Marlins, the Cubs. Cubs have been good, but you get to the Marlins, you get to the Orioles, then you get to the Phillies, which Phillies I think are still a pretty solid team, but they're a team that they're very beatable. Nationals can beat them. So then you get into those games, and those are your winnable games. So yes, it's a very hard stretch for them coming up, but definitely they're capable of at least taking a couple games here. Heading into the All-Star break, still above that 500 mark. And then you get into the second half of the season. That's where you got to go full pedal down, and you got to just go full in with your head down and, try to win these games. And you get 4 at home against the Dodgers, too. That's not on the road. 4 home, can be your last homestand of the first half of the season. And then you come back, Padres, Marlins, Orioles. Once again, things are starting to shape up, like the Nationals, again, are going to make one of these magical runs of the playoffs after starting off terrible. They look like they're done, and they come out of the middle of nowhere and play good. That's how it's been, and sometimes that's how it rolls. And teams do that, right? There's some teams out there, that's why first half and second half. There's some teams out there that are really good in the first half of the season, and they're in the second half. Some teams like the Nationals, they struggle in the first half of the season. They find they tie it together, couple weeks before the All-Star break, and then coming out of the All-Star break, they continue to be on fire. There's some teams, they play well, hit the All-Star break, you get that little bit of break, you come out, they're slow. They still might make the playoffs, but, Second half teams tend to have success because then you're hot going into the playoffs. Some teams are and both. Some teams aren't any. Some teams they have stretches here and there in the first half and the second half. Nationals are strictly a second half team. They struggle in the month of April, May, mostly June, but they've turned it up the past couple weeks here in June. They struggle for April and May. Hit June, they start playing better. And in the middle of June, they're dominating. And then you get to July, they're playing well. All-Star break, coming out of the All-Star break, and they're just on another level. That seems to happen every year, and it's happening again. Alrighty, so let's get into the New York sports update to finish out this podcast here today. Yesterday, the Suns eliminated the Clippers 130-103. So the Suns move on to the NBA Finals, and they win the series 4-2, and a lot of big decisions coming up for the Clippers. And as for today, we got the Bucks and the Hawks. I will give Hawks the win. Giannis is going to be out tonight for Game 5. I think the Hawks win. As for yesterday in the NHL, the Lightning won, so they're up 2-0. Lightning won 3-1, so they move up 2-0 in the series. And, I was watching that game last night, watching a little bit of the College World Series, watching a little bit of the NBA Western Conference Finals, because when the Yankees game was on rain delay, I was flipping through. So I was flipping through the Stanley Cup and the Western Conference Finals last night. During the rain delay, watched a little bit of the College World Series, but that was a blowout. It was like 9-0, so I ended up switched. But as for the MLB yesterday, the Tigers won, Red Sox won, A's won, Marlins won, White Sox won, Orioles won, Padres won, Mariners won, Tigers won, Braves won, Nationals won, Rockies won, Brewers won, and Cardinals won. As for yesterday, Angels won 11-8. No need to talk about that. I talked about it earlier. Terrible. As for today, we got the Blue Jays, Mariners. I'll give Blue Jays the win. Red Sox, Royals. I'll give Red Sox the win. White Sox, Twins. I'll give White Sox the win. A's, Rangers. Give A's the win. Phillies, Marlins. Give Phillies the win. Brewers, Pirates. Give Brewers the win. Dodgers, Nationals. I know I just talked very highly about the Dodgers or the Nationals. I do think the Dodgers win this game here. Just because Corbin has been struggling this season, but I think it's close. You know what? Let's see. What's the percentages? 60% of people say they think the Dodgers will win. The Dodgers have been playing better baseball recently, too, I believe. They're 6-4 in the last 10 out of 5 game win streak. So 2 hot teams going into this. Let's see. After that, you got the Cheaters, Indians. I'll give Cheaters the win. Reds, Padres. Give Reds the win. Cardinals, Rockies. Give Cardinals the win. And Giants, Diamondbacks. Give Giants the win. Mets played today against the Braves. Mets got Jacob deGrom on the mound. He's 7-2 with a .69 ERA. And the Braves got Ian Anderson on the mound. He's 5-4 with a 3.42 ERA. The over/under for this game is 7. Mets come in this game 41-35. Braves come in this game 38-41. This game goes on today, 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time on Bally Sports Network, and you can find this game on SNY. 77% of people say the Mets will win. I will join those 77% of people, and I think the Mets with deGrom on the mound will win. As for today with the Yankees and the Angels, Yankees come in this game 41-39. Angels come in this game 39-41. The Angels got Canning on the mound. He's 5-4 with a 4.95 ERA. And the Yankees got Jordan Montgomery on the mound. Monty's on the mound. He's 3-2 with a 4.06 ERA. The over/under for this game is 10. This game comes on today, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on MLB Network. You could also find this game on Yes Network. 67% of people will say the Yankees will win. After last night's loss, I think they're gonna come out flat out terrible. I just think they will. That just seems how this team tends to respond. So I don't think they win. Hope I'm wrong, but that's the reality of this team. Alrighty, as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently winning 171-123. Today I've got going Yadier Molina, Luke Voigt, Jay Cronenworth, Gene Segura, Marcus Semien, Carlos Correa, Matt Olson, Christian Yelich, Whit Merrifield, Dylan Carlson, Avisail Garcia, Josh Ross, and J.P. Crawford, and Zach Eflin's on the mound. Other than that, no news updates on injury report. There was an update yesterday on Bregman, but no new news on him. So hopefully he... I'm hoping that he's back sooner rather than later. By the way, I called it. Someone already claimed Josh Johnson off of waivers. So, no way I'm getting him back. He had another home run yesterday. I'm not really mad about it. I mean, I dropped him. Someone else picked him up. It's just how it rolls. Like I mentioned, not too mad about it. not disappointed. Segura's back. He struggled a little bit, but he's going to get in his groove, and he's been on the IL. He's not. So, and I feel fine about dropping Donaldson. I do. I mean, it's one of those moves where you got to make it. I mean, J.P. Crawford's been dominant. I don't want to give him up. I would rather lose Donaldson and have two other third basemen than lose J.P. Crawford. My only main shortstop is Carlos Correa. Austin Riley got a home run yesterday. He had the big day yesterday. He's the third baseman. And then I've got, Segura and then, all those guys. So, it's just, I'm not, I know a lot of people might question my move to drop Donaldson. He's batting like 251. He hits a lot of home runs, not many on base, and he's a guy, too, that was taking up a bench spot. I was playing him, but it wasn't anything major. I mean, he wasn't like a guy that was in my starting lineup every single day. He goes through stretches. He goes through stretches, definitely. So, he definitely goes through stretches. But, anyway, that's what I got for the podcast. So, hopefully you all enjoyed it. And obviously another good podcast in the books. And tomorrow, like I mentioned, a lot of stuff to get to. There's about, like I said, 6-7 topics I want to get to. I can name them right now. I want to get to Adams, Gilmore, Lillard, Simmons, Clippers. Who what else? Oh, I also want to get to the Hawks-Bucks series, whoever wins that series. I'll get into my NBA Finals preview. So there's so much to get to, so much to talk about. So, be a little patient with me because I only talk about 2 main topics on this podcast. I've thought of many times about talking about more, but, I kind of like where the podcasts are at with about the hour or so. So there's a lot to get to, a lot I've been talking about, a lot more to get to. So, I will try to get to as many topics as I can. Like I said, I love having so many topics to talk about. It's one of those things where I try to plan it out. So I do want to get to some of the other stuff. Clippers and stuff, that's going to be stuff I want to talk about first. Damian Lillard, we'll have all offseason to talk about Damian Lillard, especially if there's rumors about him going to the Knicks. We'll be talking about Damian Lillard all offseason. So I want to get to him. Also want to get to Simmons, but those will be topics we'll be talking about all offseason. Clippers, them getting eliminated. I'm not going to talk about the Clippers getting eliminated 2 months from now when it's completely old. So I'll get to all the different topics, but with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. As always, hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.